Hello, everyone. I'm Lindsey.
And I'm Stephanie, and we're psychotherapists here in Ontario, Canada. And you're tuning into the Health Counseling Show, where real talk meets mental health. Before we dive in, just a quick note. The conversations we have on the show are for educational and informational purposes only. They're not a substitute for professional care or personalized mental health advice.
So, even though we are therapists, this podcast isn't therapy. And so, we're here to open up a dialogue on important topics that impact people every day. So, if you're struggling, please don't hesitate to reach out to a licensed mental health professional.
All right, let's get into it.
Okay, so today we are diving into a topic that comes up a lot in our therapy rooms. Postpartum and the wild, beautiful, and sometimes overwhelming transition into parenthood.
And as therapists and moms ourselves, we are not just speaking from theory, but rather our own lived experiences of sleepless nights, identity shifts, and those what the heck is happening to me right now.
Yes. So whether you're a new parent, a support person, or just curious about the postpartum experience, this one is for you.
So let's get started on one of the most common feelings and themes that seem to be coming up lately. I just don't feel like myself anymore.
Mm-hmm. So that's a statement I find that comes up a lot. And it's one that, even though people who are diving into the parenthood realm, whether it's for the first child or subsequent kids, right? Mm-hmm. It's kind of redefining who you are, both as an individual, but then as a member of that family unit, right? Yeah. And there's so much of a shift that can happen in that sense of identity and autonomy. Yeah, large part. Yeah, especially when there is a newborn coming into the space, or maybe it's you've adopted someone as well too, and bringing another human into your home space also. So it's such a whirlwind experience to go through.
Whirlwind is for sure. I know, like, it is so overwhelming. Like, baby comes out, maybe you're still in the hospital, maybe it wasn't necessarily, maybe there were some complications, baby didn't stay in long enough and you have to be in the hospital for a while, or you had baby and you're going home right away. Like, it's just like, oh my God, what is happening? Like, who am I? Like,
absolutely. I remember, I think for both of my kids, like, there was a point where, because you stay in for like that 24-hour kind of like buffer period right after the baby is born, and then they're like, "Hey, are you ready to go home?" And I'm like, like, I'm not totally sure. I don't remember looking to my partner, and he's like, "Yeah, let's just do this." And like, there's that instant panic that comes over you because you're like, even though there's like some confidence in knowing how to do that initial care for the baby, but it's as soon as you bring that baby home, right? Like, it's a whole other world. Yeah. In a familiar place that you came and went from constantly prior to this baby arriving, but they were connected to you in a different way.
Yeah. And like, so I guess the reason why I brought up the like complications is having my son 2 months early, completely unexpected. I went from like having independence and my autonomy, and I was still in like doing school and I was going to work. Like, I had so many responsibilities, or I felt like it, and all of a sudden, like, oh my God, baby's coming, baby's here, and we're in the hospital, unsure of like what's going on, and you get the news, okay, like being transferred to another hospital, and then being in the hospital for a couple weeks, thankfully, and then getting the news like, oh, baby's ready to come home. And I remember that day I had just finished my course, and I'm like, oh my God, Matt, like, I'm not ready.
Yeah.
Like I remember calling my mom, like crying, panicking. I'm like, oh my God, like I, I don't know. I don't know what to do. Like, I'm not ready.
Mm-hmm. Well, because it happens so quickly, and there's such like, because you can't control, yeah, when that is happening, right? So there's that loss of being able to make that choice,
Yeah.
a little bit, right? And that can be
Yeah.
so hard to even kind of grapple with, because you're like, hey, now we're doing this.
Yes. And that's
Yeah.
that survival mode.
Absolutely.
You just do it. And it's like, I don't know how I did it looking back,
Mm-hmm.
but I did it, and I like it got done.
Yeah. And I don't think that like we have that opportunity to talk a ton about that. Like you're just kind of surviving in those first few weeks, even if you've read so many books or you've done this before, there's this piece where you're just kind of getting through it. And there's such like an absence of like concept of time in there also.
Yes.
That is hard to even kind of wrap your head around prior to the baby arriving, I find, right? And what do you do when you're just constantly surviving and people are asking you for like, how can I help? Or what can I do? And you're like, I don't know. I don't know, right? Because you're even trying to process like your own recovery of the delivery of that child in whatever form that happened in too, right? And sometimes there's some trauma that comes up in that as well, in that process of having the baby, right? And trying to kind of navigate it and showing up for this other human that now is like, okay, I'm now dependent on you. Like there's so many layers to becoming a parent that we don't always dive into, because I think there's still a lot of that narrative that like you just kind of know what you're doing. Like you're just kind of like naturally like, okay, like I know a couple things, but like I don't know how to function on a day-to-day either. Yeah. Right? Like, the baby's gotta be fed at some time. That's gonna have to be changed. Like those are the basics.
Yeah.
But how
bottles need to be cleaned if you're bottle feeding, like, or if you're pumping, like all the pumping parts need to be clean. Yes. And then Colin was a puker, and so I had blankets that needed to be cleaned, and I needed to clean myself. And it's like, oh my God, like what is happening to me?
Absolutely, yeah. I know like we've talked a little bit about that, like generational wise too, right? There's different ideas and different experiences perhaps from us having our kids compared to our parents or our grandparents having kids, right? And what it looked like in terms of if it was expectations, if it was just like how do you functioning, if it was the setup of the home environment, like did you have maybe a little bit more external care coming into the home? Maybe that was
that's true.
Like there's so many different pieces that we don't always consider. And then there's also social media that is giving so much advice, right? Or like perspectives on how to be a parent according to that person.
Yes. Yes, 100%. And like, I think that's when, I mean, having Colin in the midst of like just ending COVID. COVID was like just ending. So I could have people come in, but like TikTok was like a real thing. And like you start hearing these terms, and like your partner leaves and you're home with baby all day, every day. And not that I necessarily meant to it or not, but like starting to become resentful of my partner getting to leave the house by himself for however many hours in a day. And even though my partner was great, he is great, he supported me in every way possible, I still resented the fact that he got to leave the house and do his thing, and I had to stay home by myself all day, every day. Even though I was home with my baby, whom I love dearly, but I think it got a lot, and I felt like I was losing myself and losing my, not necessarily identity, but my autonomy,
Yeah.
my ability to just like up and go, do whatever I want to do, whenever I wanted to do it. But now it's like I can't do that anymore because I have to make sure that like bottles are packed, my pumping tools are packed, diapers, soothers, like like everything. So I couldn't just up and go and be and do what I wanted to do. I had a little person that I need to like carry along with me, which was great, but still, it was that loss of autonomy.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that is so hard because even if, say, sometimes I'll hear a parent saying, like, I just want to be able to like go out for dinner with my friends or like grab a coffee. And although they may have been able to make arrangements to be able to do that mentally, are they still home with baby as well too? And is there that element of like, well, what's the baby doing? Or should we be home with them? And we start doing that shoulding and sometimes like that shaming of taking that time. I always try to encourage, like, there's opportunities to have empathy for that, of feeling very much kind of tied to being, wanting to be in two different places.
Yeah.
And also there's going to be a lot of value in showing that, hey, I can do this.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Both for yourself, but then also for the baby to have an attachment to the other person that's in home. Right?
Yes.
And so kind of looking at those experiences and taking in baby steps to doing that. If it's a matter of like, going for a walk around the block before we go out for that coffee.
Yes.
Sometimes that's what we got to do.
Yeah.
There would be times where like, I'll just take the dog out for a walk. So that way I have that break from the four walls.
Yeah.
Essentially, where I didn't have the baby with me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know my partner, my husband, he was very good at like, he'd come home and like, okay, you need to like go out and do something for yourself or go have a shower, or on the weekends, like, okay, like go get your nails done or go do something like that. I am very thankful and fortunate that I have the partner that I have. But sometimes I think it's not always like that for people.
Absolutely.
And I I feel for them a lot because I know like I do depend on my support system. And if you don't have a support system or you don't feel like you have a support system, that can be really difficult to manage.
100%. Yeah. And I think that's sometimes too, like, where that comparison amongst parents can sometimes come into play too, right? Like if we're seeing somebody else who is able to go and do all these things and have that autonomy that maybe we want, but the thing is we also don't know what supports or what options they have in place that maybe we don't. And so kind of considering that a little bit too, like there might be just different scenarios that the person's working with.
Yeah.
So even just to kind of give yourself a little bit of grace.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. Yeah.
Yeah. And even too, like for the partner as well too, right? And their connection with the baby, right? As like giving them those opportunities to build a bit of that attachment, because they might not have had that same experience as you did with, being able to kind of have those moments to connect and to hold and to feed and all that kinds of stuff. So giving the partner those opportunities, especially too for them to kind of build up that comfort, that skill level, that familiarity.
Yep.
Especially if that partner does work outside the home.
Yes.
Right? Which both of us said.
Yeah.
Right? So there's really good strengths, I think, that can come from some of that. And also to the relationship piece between you and your partner, right? Because that's a big shift that happens.
Yes.
Hey, whether it's finding opportunities to have intimacy in a new way, or if it's simply just having a conversation to do like that check-in, how's your day, without a little word crying, like what does the relationship look like now moving forward? Because it could very well won't look the same as what it was. And
100%.
and that's hard.
And I think like the relationship no doubt does change. I don't think it's going to be the same. I think it's similar when like thinking about one's identity. You're never going to get the old you back because you're becoming someone and something new.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like trying to find the pieces of the old you or like pieces of your relationship before baby and like how can we bring that into our relationship now, and how can we bring those pieces of ourselves that we miss, how can we bring forward now? Absolutely. If that makes sense.
It does, yeah. Right. So if there's like reaches for connection that we're extending to a partner or that we're receiving from our partner, sometimes even just recognizing it for that, right? Like if they're like, hey, you know what, would you like a coffee? Yeah. Right? Because you might want to refill, right? So kind of seeing those opportunities for like, yeah, you know what, this is a person who is trying to attend and to kind of be that partner for me in this moment. Or if it's planning, you know, like a game night, date night. Yes. Right? Yep. Or if it's just like, let's go for that walk together as a unit and talk about our day, to do those check-ins. And even too, right, for ourselves of like, okay, what was helpful for me in the past to kind of discover who I am and kind of bring that in a little bit. If we enjoy listening to music, can we play some of that music? Yes. Right? Like, what does that look like now?
Yeah, 100%. Like I know, like for me, like for the identity piece, it was like I really enjoy like getting ready in the morning, and like that's just a self-care piece for me. So my husband, he will like he'll get himself ready and then he'll like take over and let me get ready. And it's like, okay, now I like once that's done, it's like, okay, now I feel myself and I feel like I can now move forward with the day. Yeah. And that helps with like the relationship piece because it's like, okay, like the more comfortable I am with myself, I think the more comfortable I am in this partnership. And it's like, okay, now I'm like more apt to like be open and like want to do things and like do this together as a team.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it gives you that chance to kind of like invest in yourself.
Yes. Very important piece. Self-esteem.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. Right. And it's also okay to ask that from a partner. Yeah. Right. To be like, hey, you know what? I'm feeling maybe really drained or overwhelmed and I just need a moment, right? To recharge or to kind of focus on myself so I can just like take the shower and get dressed by myself, okay, and have that privacy.
Yes, and that whole like asking piece, I know like it's so hard. And I think there's some times where it's like we feel like, but I don't want to ask. But I think we have to remember that we're human, and our partners are human. They're not always going to know what we need. Yes. And so we really need to use our communication skills and just advocate for ourselves. Like if we just need like 10 minutes where we're not being like talked to or touched or anything, okay, voice that. Because they're not going to know, and you don't want to just flip it on them and like, stop touching me.
Yeah, which can sometimes happen too, right? If we're making a false assumption that, well, they should just know. Yeah. Right? But the thing is, they can't read our mind. Right? They could be an incredible partner, but they also don't know what we're thinking.
Exactly.
Okay? And if we're not putting out those asks or expressing and communicating in a healthy way what our needs are, then they're just gonna kind of foster and they're gonna build up, right? And sometimes that's where some of that resentment is rooted from, is because we've kept it so contained because maybe we're trying to keep things settle and kind of keep that peace, and at the same time we're somewhat neglecting our own needs in doing that to meet other people, right? And as parents, we do so much sacrifice already.
Yes. Yes.
So if there's those opportunities where you're like, hi, can I utilize you to watch the baby for a couple of moments. And those can be like really good conversations even before the baby arrives too, to have like, how do we want to do this?
100%. I highly recommend that because like I mean like looking back, I don't think like my husband and I really had those conversations. And so for the first little bit, like yeah, there was some struggle there, like just trying to navigate like this new life.
Yeah.
And it is hard when there is a communication breakdown. It's hard to like, it's really hard to implement those strategies to come back from it. And so then that's when the communication breakdown continues to break down. And then like both partners end up feeling like they're drowning.
Absolutely. Whenever I work with couples, one of the things I often will ask them is, what are the times for connection that you have during the week? And it's incredibly common to be like, well, sometimes it happens, sometimes not so much. And I'm like talking about like beyond the scheduling, what the plan is for the family or the operation of the household, but just like that, checking in on how each of you are doing as individuals. And so often I will ask them to kind of have the homework of doing a check-in one night a week, kind of starting with that, and just kind of be able to face each other and to be present in that conversation too. To be like, how are you doing? What was really good about your day? Or there's something that you found like difficult maybe this week.
Yeah.
And just to kind of find out a little bit more about them and to also notice how they are expressing themselves too. Right. And also to put the phones and devices on pause.
Yes. Yeah.
Right. So that way you can have that moment. And it might be like a fairly quick conversation.
Yes.
And then you may be able to go and play a game or do a puzzle together where you can continue the conversation in a less kind of formal way, but just giving the opportunity to have that connection piece, I think is so key because there's also that dating each other as the relationship goes on too, right? And sometimes that gets paused when new people enter our lives.
Absolutely. Like I know, so I don't work with couples, but when I work with individuals, both men and women, both moms and dads, same thing. It's like by the time their children or their child goes to bed, it's like they're spent.
Yeah.
And all they do is like sit in silence as they finish doing all the chores or the tasks of the day, and then they go onto the couch, one partner on one end, the other partner on the other, either watching TV or scrolling on their phones, and there's like zero communication happening.
Yeah.
So 100%, I think while I understand and like I do it myself where it's like sometimes I just want to scroll, doom scroll. And it's not entirely bad, but I think there needs to be a cap.
Yes.
Because I think sometimes, like I know, like our social media feeds are like, I guess, relegated to like what we're interested in looking at. And I know as a parent, as a mom myself, a lot of those things that come up, it's like, oh yeah, like that makes sense. Like, oh yeah, like I'm the default parent. And then like you start setting those things to your partner and it's like your partner doesn't want to see that. Your partner doesn't want to hear that because it makes them feel bad about themselves. And I don't think we want to do that.
Yeah.
I don't think we necessarily mean to do that, but I think that's how it's taken. And then fights can ensue. So I think if we can like put a cap on the social medias and the phone usage when we're wanting to connect, I think the better off we are.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I don't know if that made any sense, but
No, but yeah, like, because when we're on devices, right, we're not necessarily attuned. to other people, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, maybe you've seen like something hilarious, right? That you do want to share with your partner.
Yeah.
Maybe that's part of what was really good today.
Yes. Yeah.
And so you can share that, right? And then laugh about it and talk about it a little bit, right? So you can pull on those pieces. And again, like these aren't the fix-all, right? What we're talking about here. It's just those like simple things that we can kind of do or kind of explore or consider a little bit, right? In terms of how can we give back to ourselves and give back to our relationship with our partner in this process that you're navigating together.
Yeah.
Right? So, yeah.
Yeah, 100%. But yeah, I think, I don't know, when like thinking about like relationships and postpartum and parental like responsibilities, like it's a lot.
Yeah.
And I don't think there was enough, not enough was necessarily talked about, I think, at least like from a generational standpoint. Again, I think it goes back to like our parents just did it. And I think sometimes it's like, oh my God, yes, our parents just did it. And it's like, how the heck did they do that? But I think it's trying to like, I guess what I'm trying to get at is with this topic, I think it was our hope that less shame and like more conversation can be brought out with all of this, because parenting is hard.
Yeah.
Postpartum is hard. And if we don't talk about it, I think we can start to feel isolated and alone, and we don't want that to happen.
Absolutely. Right.
The more we talk about it, the more communication can happen.
Yeah. Right. Because you're always surprised at how many other people are navigating similar things, right? Including ourselves. Okay? These are things that we've thought about or we supported people in as well, too. So always open to those conversations.
100%.
Okay?
Thank you for tuning in, and we hope that you enjoyed today's show.
Check out our show notes by visiting healthcounseling.ca. And if you have any questions you'd like us to address on our next episode or episodes, please reach out to us on Instagram at Health Counseling and Therapy or via the contact page on our website. We'd love to hear about the important questions you have about your life and look forward to chatting with you in the future.
If you're looking for a therapist, feel free to visit healthcounseling.ca to check out our therapist profiles. The directory Psychology Today is also a great resource for finding a therapist. Thank you again for listening, and until next time, take care.